Hey everybody, so I wanted to get the chance to talk to you about my new book, Stomping the Drive-Thru. And the core idea of it is that you can do things simply in your kitchen, put them in your freezer, and then instead of driving through the drive-thru. And unfortunately, most people aren't taught how to cook. They don't know that you can get good food in your body a lot better than the processed stuff that you buy in a box or in a package or in a fast food line for a lot less money. So it isn't. So we're going to be cooking this outside because it's more fun, because it's better, not be better in the sense that it's more efficient. I mean, I can cook here. I can cook in my beautiful kitchen. But I don't need to. Because the thing is if you have flame, you can cook. And human beings have been taking care of themselves in that way for thousands of years. But starting in the 50s, they started encouraging people to do things more convenient. And whether that was a mix that went into your pantry, or whether that was something you drove and got or got delivered to your door, everybody can cook. And so what we're going to start with today is rice. And I'm going to teach you how to use rice so that you can have meals all week if you want. But there's all kinds of different rice. But most people won't bother because it's not already pre-made. It's not already pre-packaged. So there it is. Okay. So if you take think about it this way. For everything you fill with the rice, you need to fill 2 things of water. Okay? And that's really the standard recipe of rice. Now, you can read on the side of a package and find out what that is, what they recommend. So you get water boiling. We're going to go out and set this up. And we let that boil. I just got done smoking a bunch of ribs yesterday. Wait for it to boil. While we're doing that, we'll go get some other supplies. So, in order to do what we're going to do today, we obviously need a pot. Skillet would be nice to have. And one of the things I want to remind you of is that a kitchen involves heat of some kind and sharp things. So if you're really new to the kitchen, be really cautious. And after a while, it'll be like when you're driving your car. You probably don't even think about it. Okay, but in the beginning, you need to be aware of the fact that there's heat and sharp things. So I have that. Okay, so I'm going to grab some stuff. And none of this is pre-planned. So, part of a pork chop that I smoked. There's that. Let's see. Some sauce. Okay, do all of that. And we're gonna Nothing wrong with it, but okay, so sure. A little bit of barbecue chicken. Cheese, because you always got it. And then I have some deli meat. So, we have a carrot. It's probably not really, but what I'm doing with all of this is saying grab whatever you have in your refrigerator, because you're probably going to save yourself $100 this week if you do. What else? What else? Oh, definitely. Handful of these. Let me grab something out of here. So I'm going to need all of these bowls. Oops. Okay, what did I do with that? That'll work. A little bit of that. A little bit of that. So, here's the part that I hope you're picking up. I'm not looking for specific ingredients. I'm looking for a little bit of something. Okay? And every refrigerator generally has a little bit of something. So the idea is so that you don't have to worry about your chef's credentials. This is really simple stuff. And that's probably enough for now. Let's see if there's anything else that stands out to me. Ooh. Oh yeah, okay. That'll work. Do I have a knife? That's one of those. Let's hope I make it all the way out there with my tray here. Here we go. Okay, so it looks like our water is boiling. Now I can put my rice in. Oops. I might grow a rice tree there. So this is about all there is to it. And you take your phone, and on the side of the package, every package, it will tell you okay. Most of the time it's 8 to 10 minutes. And then you have a week's worth of food. There is Derek. Oh, when I tore the bag open. So let's see. So we're just going to go by what I know. So keep checking it, keep looking at it. But for right now, just give it a stir. So the problem that I see in our society is that most people have a disadvantage. Doesn't matter what school you went to. Doesn't matter what program you were a part of. They have, I don't know if you want to call it engineered or set it up or whatever, so that people don't really know how to cook anymore. And it was sweet and it was nice and it was Mrs. Cleaver and the Waltons and all of that, where they kind of showed convenience being part of the example, rather than the occasion. So with a little bit of tools and a little bit of stuff, you can make yourself food. And they make a lot of money about you not knowing. And I'm not trying to say that there's a grand conspiracy, but if there isn't one, it sure looks like it. Because they basically be using propaganda of TV shows and other things that they used to show families getting together and cooking. Well, they don't do that anymore. And so you take a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and you cut it up, spice it, mix it with some rice, and you'll have a meal. And I'm going to show you that today. Okay, put that in another bowl. Now there's all kinds of ways that you can preserve your food. I have a nice big freezer, and I bet you're at the top of that big white box in your kitchen. The thing that you get the milk out of, I bet you it's got another compartment above it or below it that is called a freezer. And you can take all of the food once it's cooked and create food that you can grab as a package from either containers you have or containers you buy and take with you wherever you go. Now, I'm going to keep this one aside. I'm going to show you something later. Okay. I think we should go check our rice. So, this is not going to be a chef's version of a show. Okay. Let's check our rice. Give it a stir. See how we're doing. I could actually turn that down a little bit. Well, I thought I turned it down. Yeah, I did. Okay. There's a rolling boil. Okay. So let's pretend that you have some of your chicken Sunday dinner. Maybe a little leftover turkey. We're going to show you what kind of magic we can make out of that in a minute. So one of the things that I find, okay, so it's alarming what the price of food and where prices have gone to, okay? But I don't even understand how that it's rational that somebody wants to try and balance the budget by taking food out of the mouths of kids, by making it harder for people to eat. And excuse my little bit of politicizing here, but there are all kinds of ways that society can be helped. But destroying the National Food Bank that's in Fort Collins, that has all of our seeds, about, I don't know how many species, like 600,000 different kinds of seeds. In my lifetime, potatoes nearly ceased to exist as a commercial product. Not once, not twice, but 3 separate times in 60 years. Can you imagine what would happen to society if the potato was gone? And if you don't happen to like potatoes, okay, but I'm still, that's still not the point. We need to protect our food supply, because you know what happens if you have an unprotected food supply? You have an unprotected food supply. And I don't think that 60 cents a year for every man, woman, and child is too much to spend to protect that. That's cheap insurance. And you can, you know, there's all these things that people want you to recycle, right? We don't seem to think about that where food. So I'm not talking about you using your leftovers. I'm talking about you doing something intentional. And my book, Stomping the Drive-Thru, is a part of that. It's a part of the idea that you can, when you're cooking for your family or yourself. I did this when I was a bachelor, when I was attending the University of Washington. When I was, other times in my life, I would cook enough so that I could grab a bowl of something or take it out of the freezer and have a meal for the day or wherever I was, instead of buying campus food, which is a whole different price category. I'll just put it back in there. Recycle. So, let's see. Okay, so deli meat. Got some roast beef. Oh, gorgeous roast beef. Take a few slices of that. We are going to have such a great lunch here today. Too bad you're not here with me, because I think I'm going to be cooking too much like I normally do. Okay. So while we're waiting for that to finish, I'm going to go grab a box of spices, a handful of spices, or maybe just one of those racks, and bring it back out. Put this back away. Oh, Chuckies. Almost forgot. Got me some nice broccoli. Oops. Rest of this back inside. Okay. I'm sure that there's a proper chef method. I'm not teaching that. I don't even know if there is such a thing. But what I can tell you is that, oops, you can prep things ahead and either keep those in your refrigerator, or on a Sunday or a Saturday or whatever day off you have, prep your food for the week. Then you have it to take with you to work instead of buying fast food. So let's go get those spices. How's this looking so far? And oops. Those, and I'll just grab this. Oh, a spoon. Okay. Yeah, there you are. There you are. Yeah. We are getting there. That's my co-star. Her name is Delilah. And we used to call her Delightful Delilah. No, we still do. So, there are people who seem to have a problem with onions causing them to cry or something. I've never had that problem. My mother, who was a chef, considered that a gift, but I whatever. So. Okay. Don't cut your fingers off. There is a method that people use where they do like this to cut with. My hand is disabled, so I can't. So don't tell me how awful I am, because I'm not doing it right. I'm not pretending to be Gordon Ramsay or any other great chef. I'm showing people how that they can save money and still live well. That it doesn't have to be a sacrifice. So, before we get into all of that, there is a couple of pages in my book that you can put on a copy machine or on top of your printer and scan it and make a list. And this, or if you get the digital copy, you can probably just copy and paste it onto something. But it's a list of, it's kind of a menu, if you will. But it's simple things that you can cook, that you can hand out to all of the people that share your home. And if that's just you, that's cool. We'll go down and circle 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 things out of this menu that you'd like to try. And you don't have to cook everything on it to save money. You only have to cook that which appeals to you. I've been to 88 countries, and I've had around the world, because a lot of countries are as different as different corners of the United States. So I've sampled about 200 different cuisines. None of it was bad. All of it was different. Give it a try. That's all I'm saying, is that give the book a try and see if it saves you money. So let's go check our rice again, because I think we're getting close. Oh yeah, I can let that finish cooking over here. It's only got a few minutes of steaming left to do. And got that. This. Shucks. I know what I forgot. This over here out of the way. I need to go run in and grab some oil. You don't have to follow me on this. So, in the book, I list the 50 common spices. I have about 200 in my kitchen. But the 50 most common one will give you a really good way to sample something. And let me make it really easy. So you take a little butter. Well, when most people have rice, they put butter on it. So just kind of go with what you know. And you can use butter, and you can use other oils. Maybe you like avocado oil or olive oil. I like all of them. But if all you have is salt and pepper, one of the things I do, it's really simple. I take a little salt and put it in the butter as it's melting. I take a little pepper and put it in the salt as it's melting. I think that revitalizes the spice and gives the butter a little flavor, so that when I take when I take a little rice, a meal's worth, right? Like that, and throw it in there. Then it flavors it. Okay? And if that's all you do, I want you to think about this. I cooked rice, and that was putting rice in boiling water. Okay? Then I put some butter in a skillet and added some spices to it. Okay? If you went to a Chinese food restaurant and bought this, you'd probably have more rice than you can eat, but there's your dish. Ta-da! So, we're not done, but you have hot food, whether you took that rice out of your pan or out of your refrigerator. Okay? If you take some chicken, some peppers, and do the same thing. Cook it up in a little bit of seasoned butter. Oh, and I have other seasonings to choose from. What sounds good to you? paprika, maybe mustard, dry mustard, okay? Throw that into your skillet, just a little bit, it'll come out, okay? A little bit of dry mustard, okay? You don't need a lot, because once you activate it with the butter, you might not ever do it that way again, the way the people have been teaching how to do it. But my mother, who was a master chef and should have had her own show, but she was doing it back in the 60s, not the 2020. Okay. And you take a scoop, another scoop of rice, but I'm going to use this. It's got a little salt and pepper already in it. Mix it around. Okay, now I want to, this isn't about one meal. Okay? You could literally do this same recipe with an entire pot. And then you serve it or save it in a package, and as you're walking out the door to go to your errands or go to work or whatever, you just grab it out of the freezer. I don't think you can go anywhere that doesn't at least have one microwave. Oops. Okay. So we're going to do that. Yum. Okay. So there are a lot of professionals out there that cook for a living, and they should be rewarded and honored for what they do. But I'm not trying to teach you that. I'm trying to show you how simple it is to not have your wallet destroyed by the fact that you got to eat. So, let me see what else I got. Okay. Okay, you can take any deli meat. Okay. And okay, so salt and pepper is just kind of a thing, right? I mean, I don't know. This is like the base spice. Okay. A little salt. Okay. And I don't use a lot of this. But you can use the whole jar if you want to, if it's your food, right? You don't have to settle for bland, fast food, awful crap. I know of people who carry around hot sauce so that they can put it on their hamburger. No. Okay. So let those spices kind of activate a little bit, and then I'm going to use roast beef because that's what I had in my refrigerator. Mix it in there. And if you buy yourself a pound of deli meat that's already prepared, you could do an entire container of this rice and have it in your freezer for this week or next week or the week after that. Okay. Now, if you're doing long-term preservation, I discussed that in my book, and how you can do that if you want to just eat like one meal of whatever you cook and then 3 weeks later do another one. So you're going to cook 10 things and have enough food for the next 90 days, right? So once that's nice and warmed up, cooked together, okay, you can do that. Okay, and since this is beef sauce, this is beef, roast beef, throw a little steak sauce on it. You got some of that in your refrigerator, I know you do. Okay. So, you've made whatever you love into a meal you can take to work at lunch or out to a potluck or whatever. And so here's the thing, I know what my taste buds like. And it might take you a little while to figure out exactly what your taste buds like. Well, so this is a pretty hearty meal right here. This by itself, nothing else in it. But let's take rid of the, take a few mushrooms. Now we'll do that next. I'll do that. But you could cook this all up with some mushrooms, but I'm not, for right now, I'm going to take that out of here. Put it over here. Scoop it back into that bowl. Oops. So I guess what I'm asking you to do is explore food. Most people don't really look at food like, damn, I got to go to lunch, okay? But I would understand if somebody felt that way if the only thing around them was fast food restaurants. Okay, so here's the thing, is that if you go by, the next time you go by a fast food restaurant, I want you to stop. And I want you to look at the whole menu and look at what their meals cost. Okay? So there is a place that has a symbol that looks like that. Okay. And if you stand there and look at the menu, you'll see that the meals, in other words, some kind of sandwich, some kind of potato product, some kind of drink, and it's $16. I haven't spent $16 here today yet. And if you're buying lunch for your friend, your kid, your whatever, and hopefully your kids will eat it all, you're doubling that. And if it's a family of 4, that's 4 times that. For the price of, what is that, $15, $30, $60, I could feed your entire family for a week out of that book. Is that worth it? Well, you got to decide that. But if you're looking at the high expense of everything, and maybe taking a step back and using whatever cooking device you have is a way for you to get some sanctity and awareness back into your wallet instead of just having it bleed you dry. Does that make sense? So, oh, yes, I did say that. So, let's say that you have somebody who is ultra vegan, right? The mushrooms are over. Okay. So you take yourself a great big swat of butter. And I know I'm contaminating the pan, so don't tell me that. Okay? But if I take a great big swat of butter and throw, what other spices do I have? Thyme, sage. What is that? Oh, white pepper. Yeah, okay. That'll be good. Okay, so you take your spices. And of course, it's salt and pepper. Where that went. And that's kind of fun. I get to play dodgeball with the rice. Okay. And then you're going to throw your mushrooms in. A few mushrooms. A couple carrots. Some more pepper. By the way, this can be bowls of product that you mix into your rice. Okay. But throw a little bit of that in. Okay, when most people think of vegan, they don't think like I do. I think, oh good, I don't have to get meat in the way. I don't hate meat. But there are so many wonderful things out there. I mean, take for example, what if you diced up an apple, put a little agave in it with the butter, and put a little cinnamon in there. With the rice, that's a dessert. Okay, unless you're like some people that believe that you eat your dessert first. But you have a little bit of food, right? A little bit. So let's say that this whole skillet was full of what I'm cooking here. So I brought over some thyme to put in it. That's even in songs. So I brought over a little bit of white pepper, which is a different flavor profile than black pepper. Little sage. Okay. And after that cooks up a little bit, mix that around, let it settle. So I hope you're starting to see how easy this is. I hope you're starting to see how that just with a little bit of forethought, you can spend exactly the same amount of money that you're spending on restaurants or fast food and cook yourself some sustainable meals. So in the book, there's the menu section that I talked about, right? In the book, there's the menu section. And it's important because you don't want to eat the same thing all the time. I mean, there was a time when before my kids were born and I was between jobs, I think I lived on it peanut butter and jelly for about a month. And no, I don't hate it now, but it was probably a couple years before I picked it up again once I got my income back up. And so what I'm talking about is this isn't the first time that we as human beings have had to worry about what all was going to be covered with what little we had. But this is a way to do that. But there are pictures of me out there where I am this big. I've had kind of a love relationship, abusive relationship with food. And I've had to learn how to pull that back. I was in wrestling and football in high school, but at 40, I didn't need to eat like I was in wrestling or football. And what happened was I was on my way back from Texas, and I went to get in my car, my full-size car, and I had to put the seat all the way back, and my gut was still hitting the steering wheel. I figured that was time. And so what I started to do wasn't a new fad, wasn't a new crazy thing. It's I got back to eating enough food. So instead of eating a mounded plate of food, I started eating that much food, a couple fistfuls. And if there was some left over, well, I put it in the freezer and had it another day. But you can get back to whatever size you want to be with portion control, and there's a little genetics involved in that. But there is a kind of soy sauce that I use called liquid aminos, and it doesn't have the high salt, and so if you have a salt sensitivity, you can add a little of this, and the aminos have a salty taste, but they don't have the salt in it. Those non-vegan folks. Okay, so I want to show you this. Right? So here's a nice meal. Okay. Now, in your refrigerator, you have some beans, black beans, red beans, whatever. Beans and rice is a staple that has existed almost since the dawn of time. I'm going to move this over here. Move this out of the way. So, how many of you have some kind of ground meat in your refrigerator? Okay, if you have some leftover taco meat, it's probably got a good batch of seasoning on it, right? Already got some black beans, got some other stuff, but needs to be awakened, right? And however you want to do that, whatever your spice profile is, if you like spicy, add some chipotle flakes. If you like sweet, add some celery or some tomatoes or something like that, okay? But for right now, we're going to pour it in there like that. And I know you guys think that I probably had all this stuff prepared, but I didn't. I just grabbed it out of my freezer, out of my refrigerator. I can grab stuff out of my freezer too, but. So you heat that up a little bit. Need to grab my reminder sheet. So part of the problem that we're having in our society right now is that the previous generation didn't have home ec, didn't have any way to facilitate or get used to the idea of cooking. In fact, most of the time when we were told not to leave the house during COVID, people had to order in. And so that created a great big boon in the food delivery business. I'm not saying that anybody did anything wrong. I'm not shitting all over you. What I'm trying to say to you is that you can improve your, not only your food, your health, your profile, but what about your kids? Were your kids taught this? You weren't. What's the chances that they're teaching that in school? Especially when they're putting candy machines and pop machines in the school. So I'm not picking on anybody. I'm sure as hell not picking on teachers. Those are some of the highest educated, lowest paid people in the country, unfortunately. Notice I said highest educated. Okay. So you take this and maybe you put a little onion flakes in it. Okay, so if you put this in a wrap, you know, what my ancestry used to call a burrito, a tortilla, put this inside of a tortilla. And guess what? You can add some cheese to it. Make a little more rib sticky. So this is not just what the book teaches. There's 60 different meals in there. I'm showing you an easy one because I think a lot of people, whether they'll admit it or not, are a little intimidated by cooking. I want you to fall in love with it the way that I have. And, okay, so I want to show you something. So you can take something like this. Okay. Looks kind of yummy the way it is. But if you put this in the skillet, let it warm up, or simply go like this. When you microwave it at work, it all cooks together and turns into this yummy stuff, right? Would you eat this? I would. Did you know it's hot right out of the skillet? There. So what have I left out? Anything? Okay. So my idea wasn't to impress you with how much different stuff I can cook. The important that what I want you to walk away with is what you can cook. And so we're gonna finish this off. Well, maybe not. Okay, so of course we have to start with salt and pepper. A little bit of black pepper. A little bit of flakes. A little bit of paprika. A little bit of Italian seasoning. A little bit of onion. This is going to either turn out really, really great or not, but put a little bit of everything in here. Some sage. A little bit more white pepper. Okay. So, here's chicken and peppers. Give that a little bit of a toss. I'm going to put the rest of these mushrooms in here. A little bit of these, carrots and onions. Smoked pork, why not? So there are lots of people online that wear surgical rubber gloves when they're cooking. And maybe that's how they do it in chef school, but I'm not teaching chefs. I'm teaching you how to find a place in your world, your reality that you can live with. Let me make sure I haven't missed anything. Okay. So I want to hit this point extra hard. If you could take what you're currently spending for meals right now, the industry said a number of years ago that the average person was eating 13 meals a week
fast food. So let's say that all of that was $5 each. That's like $65, $70 a week. Right? Nothing I've done here is that expensive. And you've got meals that you can eat on for a week. Okay? One of my staff threw a question in here. Said, "You've been doing this for 30 years. What took you so long to write the book?" Well, it took me a while to figure out from my clients and my consulting and other stuff how not prepared people are. I can take firewood and build a pit and cook. And I can go out in the woods and gather all of that. But I'm not even talking about that being that hard, that difficult. I'm talking about you using whatever heat source you have to throw some things together so that you don't have to spend $75 a week to eat. What if I could cut that down by half? Would that be worth the book? So it isn't just the money, though. It isn't just the money. Okay, so let me ask you a question. How many things did you see me put in there to extend shelf life? Okay, how much compared to fast food? I'm not talking about like gourmet 4-star. I'm talking about what the average person is going through and eating. How healthy is this in comparison? So, how many families do you know that maybe you guys eat farm to table every day? Maybe you do. But how many families do you know are suffering from the box? My grandmother used to say that if it came in a box, bury it. When you go to the grocery store, they have a produce section, right? And then they have, what is it, 10, 12, 20 aisles of prepared food? And I'm not, look, I didn't make this barbecue sauce. I didn't package this cheese. But I've already shown you what you can do with a handful of ingredients that are good for you. So, look at this closely. Does that look yummy? Well, let's try it out, shall we? I'm going to put this aside. Oh, good. I was smart enough to bring out a hot pack. Because you know, after something's been on the stove for an hour, it's hot. Okay. So don't need that. That's off. So let's say that you've got a group of people coming over to play video games or some other game or something, right? Instead of Doritos, excuse me, I didn't mean to mention any brands, but instead of salty, awful chips, okay, look, so that's picking up all the spices that's left in the skillet. Okay. That's what I put that rice in. Okay, but if you're going to have a bunch of people over, whether that was to plant flowers or blow up monsters with your video game, and put this out with a couple of sauces like Worcestershire or whatever you want. Okay, take a look. Would your friends not eat it? I know that wouldn't be left after I put a bunch of teenagers around it. So, and here it is. Okay, this is mine. So here's what I want you to see, right? You can do things in a big bucket. You can do things in a little bowl. You can do things inside of vegetables. You can do things right there. Get some of the rest of this back. You can package it as leftovers. Serve it up for a family of 6, or have 6 meals for yourself. I want you to fall in love with food. I want you to be somebody who enjoys it. Okay, the problem with that fast food diet that they talked about 5 years ago, where people were eating on average 13 meals a week, is that your body doesn't get what it needs. And what I found is when you feed it stuff it needs, it's satisfied, and so are you. It affects you mentally. So if you want to be more productive, you want to be whatever, start taking a little bit better care of yourself. And oh, by the way, Stomp the Drive-Thru and save a bunch of money in the process. Namaste.